Alrighty, here we go. Hey, you know what? Happy New Year's, everybody. We made it not only through 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, and 2024. Oh, here we go, 2025. I think it's going to be awesome. I think it's going to be whatever we make of it. And also, here I am, as promised. We're going to do a reading of, we're going to start with the first chapter of my book. And we're going to go from there. So, all right. Wish me luck. Thank you for being here. And if you have any comments or thoughts or, I don't know, anything that you want to include, you know where the comments are down below this video. There's also a subscribe button, probably over there somewhere, that you could hit. If you like it, please hit the like button. All the things, all the stuff and things. Here we go. Putting my book out into the world in the best ways that I know how. Dancing with Demons. Ooh, a love story by Laura L. Holloway. That's me. Sitting in front of my little fire. Got my dogs all sleeping around me. Freya the cat is outside. I believe she will be happy being out there. We'll see how this goes. Okay. Chapter 1, the opening, begins with a poem by Amelia Earhart. The most difficult thing is the decision to act. The rest is merely tenacity. The fears are paper tigers. You can do anything you decide to do. You can act to change and control your life. And the procedure, the process, is its own reward. Phew, that's a good opening for 2025, isn't it? The quote by Amelia Earhart. And on to the story. I came to Colorado when I was 35 years old, quote, for the winter, end quote, to write a book. I had spent some time visiting in the spring, caring for my older sister's home and animal crew. I enjoyed myself thoroughly and decided it was time for a change in my life, time to mix things up a bit. I sublet my adorable, high-ceilinged artist studio home on a goat farm in rural Wisconsin, where I'd lived without close human companionship for nearly 7 years. I leased my horse on a nearby client's farm, left my cockatiel in the care of a trusted bird-loving friend for the sake of simplifying. I put my successful pet care business on hold until springtime, with fingers crossed and hoping for the best. I loaded up my dogs, the cat, and a few favorite things in my trusty red pickup truck. My trusty red pickup truck. Heading optimistically west. For the winter, mind you. For the glorious sunshine promised by Colorado, which Wisconsin winters decidedly lack. To spend some time with my younger sister Wendy, who had said this would be her last season in the mountain town, so I'd better get out there quick. To work in a cute little coffee shop and at the local animal shelter, keeping my responsibilities to a minimum. To shake things up just a little, I thought, and have time to write a book. I had written countless journal entries, some essays and short stories, my favorite written shortly before my springtime Colorado visit, entitled Motorbikes and Horses. Motorbikes and Horses, having to do with fear and love and a little bit about a boy. But I'd never yet written a full-fledged book. It felt like time. I was definitely not going to date while in Colorado, I declared to myself as well as to the dogs and cat. I was going to spend my winter focusing on myself, on good times with my sister, and most importantly, on writing my book. For sure, no dating. Little did I know, shortly after my arrival in the colorful little ski town, I'd be introduced to a handsome young artist fellow, even as I still swooned with the headiness of sunshine and mountain air. I would be charmed by his easy, gracious ways, his smile, his cleverness, and the sincerity in his gaze. I'd be wooed within a week by his raven tattoos, by his bossy little heeler mix dog. Little did I know, within a year of our meeting, almost to the very day, Ryan would become the father of my future child. He would make me a mother, like the mother I mostly never had, my own mum having passed when I was 3. The artist fellow and that baby boy would become the reasons, unequivocally, to plant my Midwestern roots deep in the rocky soils of Colorado. So much for writing a book. The book I came to the mountains to write was my second to go unwritten, thwarted, it would seem, by my falling in love. Perhaps more accurately, it was merely postponed by other big life occurrences coming up and taking precedence, as big life occurrences will do from time to time, regardless of how driven one is to write, even when one is compelled to write all the time, with novel ideas of one day turning all the chicken scratches into a proper book, with mad scribbling in journals for years and years on end, with people commenting on the occasional Facebook rant, "Oh, you should write a book," with wondering what that would look like, really, and with fear of never doing it in the end. Furthermore, the fear of writing the darned thing, finally, then for anyone who dares read it to think that it's just plain dumb. Worse yet, fears of being too open, too vulnerable, and people thinking one is weird or weak or an outright crazy person. The thought that maybe the dream of writing a book is much sweeter than any reality of it could be. On top of all that, the knowing that if I don't write, if I find myself on my deathbed with all the words still in my journals and in my head, the knowing, as I think of it now and feel the possibility in my chest, that would effing suck. It really would. So at least I've got to give it my best try, though now I have Yoda in my head telling me I must try not. I must do or do not, telling me there is no try. Yeesh, all right already. Some time ago, while chatting about life goals, a newer girlfriend asked what my book would be about and why I wanted to write a book anyway. I felt a moment of hesitation. That thing I've referred to as imposter syndrome seized me with 2 strong hands, shaking my bones with a gentle firmness. It was a valid question, one I really mulled over, and have continued to mull over since. I think the answer goes something like this. I want to write this effing book because I feel so strongly compelled to write, just to write. I mean, really, pretty much all the time. If not on actual paper, then in my mind. I am constantly composing a written dialogue which never seems to end. I want to write this book because something in me wants to do more with words than just fill up endless journals. My compulsion feels at best like tapping into some ethereal source of wonder and wisdom, ultimately, and at very least, it is my therapy. Don't you worry now. I have other forms of therapy too. So many, let me tell you. Perhaps it is because I wish to feel witnessed that I yearn to write this book. In times of epidemic volumes of social disconnect, isolation, loneliness, and suicide rates on the rise, I desire to feel understood, perhaps, just as everyone does. To feel just a little bit seen. And this part feels highly motivating for me, particularly in the past couple of years of some really serious self-work and compulsive journal fillings. I've had doozies of insight come to pass, some truly major shifts. I have a feeling that if I can share my experiences, with a degree of clarity and articulation. The words might just feel helpful in someone else's life journey. If a book like this had been available a few years ago, I would have been very interested in reading it. It could have been super helpful and insightful to me on the path that I was about to embark on. To be clear, I consider myself to be only as, quote, special as any other of creation's glorious, luminous beings. I have not accomplished anything particularly extraordinary in my life, other than in just being me, as uniquely as every other soul. I've not summited peaks in the Himalayas, nor cured diseases, nor written epic poetry to propel the masses toward a loving, peaceful, joyous infinity. I have mostly lived my life pretty simply. I have struggled in my own ways. I have loved in my own ways as well. I have spent my time largely in the company of good animals and have known good humans too. I have nothing particularly important to say unless someone deems my words to be so. With that said, they feel important to me, these words. They feel important for me to release. So I'm going to keep on rolling with this. I'm going to keep writing these words. You get to decide if they feel important or silly to you, dear reader. You may do with them as you choose. Books don't mind being cast aside, not like people do. Also, I will share. There is a memory which compels me from nearly 20 years ago when I told my grandmother, my Nana, about my notion of writing a book. My Nana was very dear to me. We resonated with animals in the same sort of way, and she seemed to get me in ways no other humans did. I remember one time sitting at her dining room table in Florida when I was probably near 20 or so. It was not long after I'd had my first, of two, all told, psychedelic experience with mushrooms, with a small group of dear college friends. There was much to be mined from that early exploration, having my doors of perception busted wide open. I'd had no idea what I was getting myself into. One of my great takeaways had to do with the spirit realm. I told my Nana at that table in Florida that when I thought of the spirits and brought my attention to their presence, immediately I could feel them all around me, watching, listening with eager anticipation, even glee, as though drawn by my very awareness, waiting to see what I would do next. My Nana leaned in close to me, speaking in an earnest, hushed tone. I feel them too, she said to me, but we don't speak of such things. When I told my Nana, 20-some years ago, that I was planning a month-long road trip out west to begin writing a book, my first book to go unwritten, her response immediately, without even asking what it was about, was, "Oh, honey, you'll help so many people." It struck me deeply, her confidence in what she perceived to be my purpose, my meaning in this world, my gift. To her, there was no question. My words were going to help. Let's pause for a moment because I gotta close that. There's smoke coming out of my wood stove. Hang on. All right.
I'm getting a little woozy.
A little smoky in here. Okay, back to the book. La 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 la. My Nana was one tapped-in lady. She was elegant, sensitive, kind, and wise. Her love for animals was profound, like mine. She was a seeker of wisdom, insight, and light. She'd have liked to heal the world with a flash of her smile, with a graceful motion of her hand, if she could. So there we have it. I reckon that if for no other reason, I will write this book with my Nana in mind, because she knew I could, and because she told me it would help somehow. And because I can feel her now, as I sit quietly, I feel her with me, and it makes me smile. I feel her supporting me from some other realm. Now, you may be thinking this is going to be one super duper airy-fairy read. I have to warn you that it may well be. I don't know because the book isn't fully written yet. It's mostly still riddled throughout journal entries from the past few years, waiting to be rediscovered. It should be noted with certainty that, as much as anything, I will transcribe these words for me. Even I have not read most of my journals since they were written, so to revisit them will be as much my adventure as anyone's. Perhaps I ought to forewarn you straight off that I can lean toward what to some may seem like woo-woo and way far outness. To clarify, absolutely, I believe in ghosts, and I believe in aliens too, both for better lack of terms. Both for lack of better terms. I fully believe in ESP, as well as that animals both read our minds and talk to us, in a matter of speaking, if you'll pardon the pun. I believe we can all communicate silently if we are still and truly listen. I believe that there's so much going on here, there, everywhere, so much that we humans don't have a clue about, though we sure like to pretend we do. These are all lofty topics for a later conversation, most certainly. Suffice it to say, this life has a lot to it, and that's a fact. My hope for myself and for humanity as a whole is that we are learning, making progress in our genuine evolution all the time, albeit often with 3 steps forward and 2 steps back. Sometimes in moments of laying in a crumpled mess on the ground, with tears and snot on our faces. Other times with leaps and fitful bounds of joy. We're all just making this up as we go along, I reckon, doing grand and wonderful things, or making grand messes of it as we go. I believe that is the best we humans can do. I believe that is good enough, and our right, our privilege. I believe that ultimately it can all be viewed as perfect and beautiful too. Let me know if the sound is all right with this. If the sound could be better, I might have to see about getting a proper microphone. Okay. Anytime I may have begun writing this book in my past, it would have been a very different story. The book I came to Colorado to write 16 years ago was entitled Waltzing the Butterfly and Other Tragic Boy Stories, as well as being inspired by a lovely musician fellow I knew in the Midwest, who I often wrote of as a butterfly and was very much my muse. The title was a respectful nod to the author, Pam Houston, who wrote Waltzing the Cat and Cowboys Are My Weakness, among other soulful works. Her words had tremendous influence on my heart in my early 20s with their realness and introspective vulnerability. That gal can write one heck of a tragic boy story. She also has an affinity for the animals. I remember Ryan once saying to me in an early session with our co-parenting counselor, "Why does it have to be a tragic boy story? Why can't it be a love story instead?" And yes, actually, I agree. A love story sounds way better, so a love story it shall be. A love story about dancing with our demons, the parts of us who need the most love of all. Right here, right now, as I sit at my dad's old wooden desk with the evening light fading upon a snowy world outside my bedroom window, all I can tell you is what is coming to me. This book that has been brewing in me for the past tumultuous year or two, or for 16 years, or for a lifetime. Every time I freak out and don't know where to start, every time I think this book idea is just too scary and hard, and I haven't even read Bird by Bird by Anne Lamott yet, nor Stephen Pressfield's The War of Art, though I've listened with ears pricked to interviews with both authors. So what business do I have writing a book? Then I hear a voice out there, or maybe from within, saying, "You've already written the book, Laura." And I smile. I find myself sighing a deep breath of relief. I hear, "It's all in your journals and in your mind, in your heart. You just have to get it out there where other people can read it." So here we go. This grand experiment, this grand experience of moving forward, of leaning in. This story that has become a love story for me, though not what you might think of typically. It is a love story, for sure. I will begin with what feels like a recent beginning, and I will follow my intuition from there. I'll keep listening to the voices in my head, whether smacking of inspiration or of madness, who's to say? I will do this newish thing that I've been learning, really taking to heart over these past few years, of trusting what guides me, whatever that may be. I will do my very best to convey a journey, or series of journeys, as the case will be. I will pause often, and I will listen. I'm sure I will mess it up at times. I will have moments of doubt, of indecision, of frustration, and of dread. I will have moments of glory and fulfillment too. I will not do this alone. I will seek the wisdom, insight, and courage of those who may guide me, be they in the flesh of human or animal form, be they earthbound or spirits from other realms. I will do my very human best with what I know in this moment, here and now. Bit by bit, day by day, year by year, I will continue always doing my very best to make up this story, this life, as I go along. And it ends with a quote. No such thing as spare time, no such thing as free time, no such thing as downtime. All you got is lifetime. Go. That's by Henry Rollins, that quote. Gotta love the Henry. All right. Chapter 1, we got her done. Again, I would love to hear any comments, any feedback, what you like, what you think could be better. And I'm just, neat. I'm just so grateful for for anybody who's watching this, listening to it. And I'm really grateful to be able to read my book in a format that my friends who are visually challenged will be able to hear it. And I guess that's all I got for now. That's all we got for now. Happy New Year's. Make what you can of it, because you can make whatever you want of it, right? Right. Awesome. Thanks. Mwah. See you next time.